All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Premier Series here at Daytona International Speedway, but we are not at the oval tonight. We'll be turning left and right at the Daytona Road Course. So say we're on board here with my co-commentator tonight, Maxwell Caldwell. I say, Maxwell, I know you're kind of getting up to speed on your warm-up lap, but I say we're not going to be going for a full send lap here. We're going to be just kind of show what these drivers are going to have in store for them tonight, because there's going to be a lot of places for some trouble to find these drivers this evening.
Absolutely. So many twists and turns around this very fast-paced road course. Got a lot of fast sections and slow sections, and really the section going through right now, for me, is one of the most treacherous. It's so flat, so slippery. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but as we get that run out of the bus stop, we're going to come through NASCAR 3 and 4 here, and we're going to build up a lot of speed coming to the line tonight, guys. You're going to see drivers in excess of 194 to 195 miles an hour at the start-finish line, since we're not running the NASCAR version of this road course. So a lot of speed coming right here, and right here you want to start jumping on the brakes down to third. Some drivers keep it down to second right here and leave it. I drop it all the way down to first, get that extra kick to truly apex this corner right here and get a good acceleration out. You want to make these S's right here as straight as possible. Probably going to get really loose there, and then quickly on the binders as you leave it in second and let it roll through this turn right here. Coming out, as long as you're in second gear, should be able to stay on the gas, get a little bogged down run out of the corner. Still keeps it a little bit quicker. You're going to shift to third here, and really treacherous, kind of playing with the throttle through this little kink here, all the way down to the next infield corner where it's hard on the brakes, down to second, and truly trying to apex this corner. As you get the run out here, you have to be very careful on this short stretch, because you want to angle the car, and right here where you see these cones, you want to start shifting down. That way you can get through this corner without overshooting. It's very easy to do. Now as we come out here on the NASCAR turns 1 and 2, you really want to get as straight a shot as you can out of that previous corner. That way you can carry all kinds of speed and go up through the gears through NASCAR 1 and 2. Getting ready to come to that treacherous bus stop, right? So you're going to come on down, and there's markers on the wall. I like to stop between the 3 and the 2 right here and get a good straight shot on the brakes, lift off, and you really want to carry a lot of momentum through this bus stop. And then you want to get to the gas as soon as possible without breaking loose to get a good straight shot out of there. That's going to be a critical spot here tonight, is that bus stop. Because if you do not get a good run out of there, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting up to speed down the longest, straightest part of the track here. And also, you're going to see a lot of drivers there. If they clip the dirt just a little too much, you're going to see a lot of time penalties right there tonight. So definitely something to watch for there, Gael.
Yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot of things to keep an eye on. Like I say a lot of various turns here. So obviously the infield section, definitely one of the more treacherous parts of the track for these cars tonight. So kind of they get a little bit of breathing room once they get into NASCAR 1 and 2, NASCAR 3 and 4, to kind of be able to take a breath, kind of regain focus and get back after it again. But you're right though. I mean, this whole infield section, I was saying with these Xfinity cars, they drive completely different than, let's say, a lot of these drivers familiar with running the 24 hours of Daytona, maybe running some GT cars or even the prototypes. But you're right. I mean, so we'll say it's going to definitely be a challenge for these guys tonight. Did he mention race length going to be 35 laps? It is going to be a 2-stop window. So the question is going to be, what strategy are these drivers going to be choosing tonight? Is it going to be maybe split this run evenly, maybe pitting around lap 11 or 12 or so, and then just do 4 tires of fuel every time? Or do we see maybe somebody try maybe a strategy of maybe a fuel only stop, save a little bit of time without the tires? But I've been talking to the drivers, and it sounds like there is pretty significant tire drop-off. So we'll have to see what the overall strategy is going to be. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun though to see what these guys are going to put in store for us tonight.
Absolutely, and you'll have a little bit of choice in those strategies, but I don't think it's going to be too different. I think pitting it halfway is going to be about your best bet. Not a ton of laps here tonight, but definitely enough that you're going to want to stretch it as long as you can, but not go too far, because we've seen time and time again this season, people that stay out that extra lap or two, how much time they lose. And Gael, one thing we haven't talked about yet as I come out of NASCAR 3 and 4 for the second lap is pit road. Trying to nail that pit road entry, because guess what? I'm doing 183 before I'm jumping on the brakes for this pit road. So very similar to super speedway stops of how aggressive drivers are going to get coming down this pit road. And Gael, the brakes are a little different than the super speedway cars, it feels. You get a lot more braking power in the road course package than you do the super speedway. So it's going to be real interesting to see which guys brake too early and get ran over, and which ones really try to dig in deep and maybe even overshoot it off into that infield grass.
Yeah, and actually, if you want to roll back out here real quick, Maxwell, because there's one other thing we should really mention too, is the pit exit. Daytona Oval, we're used to, once you pass this line right there, they're on the gas, they're going for it. The problem is, if you do that tonight, you're going to get a pit penalty, because as we come through here, through 1 and 2, you hit the left turn. One, it's going to be really easy to catch that outside wall, but here you see the green cones, and that's where you can actually get on the throttle. So these drivers have to be very patient on the pit exit, making sure that, A, they don't get on the throttle too soon, risk getting any contact with the outside barrier. But then, of course, the other part of that is making sure that they do not speed on that exit. It's going to be very tempting when they see those cars coming full send into turn 1 to gas it too early.
Absolutely. And Gael, something else to notice is, you come out that pit exit, and there's that little bit of a sharp left-hander right there with the pit wall. You have to slow down to about 45 mile an hour normally to get through there safely. But some of the best drivers in here may try to maximize that portion. So it's going to be really interesting to see what drivers really take the risk to get a better pit road time and gain that oh so valuable second on pit road going through that kink, and what drivers push it too far and end up damaging their car on pit exit, slamming that wall.
Yeah, exactly right. I said there's going to be a lot of things that these drivers are going to be having to balance tonight, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see. So they just got about 2 minutes left in qualifying. So they did run the longer 10 minutes of qualifying, as it's a road course. They're running about 148, 149s, 150s, somewhere in that range. So want to make sure drivers all had opportunities to actually get some qualifying laps in. But yeah, so what we should do actually before we kick everything off as well, though, is going to be, let's pull up our standings going into tonight, and that's going to be with Larry Yingling with an 11-point lead over Ryan Kelly there in second. And then we mentioned before, a big gap to third. Chris Matthews, they're about 56 out of the lead. Not sure if he's here tonight as well. That could obviously drop him a fair bit down the points. Dale, he's not here, unfortunately, this evening as well. He's going to drop a little bit. Of course, they've got that the drop week to fall back on. But then you look at like a James Ledford there in fifth, Gabe Butler, Todd Merkel, and then we talked about Chad Wilkes tied for seventh right now. So say this is one of those races. This is one that he's had circled on his calendar, and a lot of drivers have been pointing at him as soon as they saw this track on the calendar. Said this is going to be, I think, probably where Chad Wilkes is kind of at his best to have a chance to win these ones. Which, not saying he doesn't have the chance at the ovals. We've seen that plenty of times, but he's got another gear than these guys, it seems like, at these road courses.
Absolutely, and that's no different tonight. The guys come in, and in practice alone was an entire second faster than the entire field. Not shocking to see Chad Wilkes up at the top. My personal opinion, folks, we're going to see a great battle for second. But first place may be locked up after turn one, especially with Chad looking to be the provisional pole sitter at the moment. So, but one thing I see, Gael, with these points is there's a lot of shaking up. We've got Dale Knott. I mean, he's there solidly in the points, but he's missing tonight. But we also have a drop week that's going to come up. Points are going to shake everywhere. And you've got someone sitting in ninth right now, right outside looking in, that has been pretty fast this week and has also opted not to qualify tonight, which tells me he's looking to do the most positions gain trick.
Yeah, that's a good plan. I was as soon as you said that, I looked at it and I know exactly who you're talking about. So before we get there, though, we're going to pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And on that pole position, like we had mentioned, it's going to be that number 17 of Chad Wilkes. In second place, going to be Larry Yingling. Only 0.3 of a second off there, though. So Larry maybe having a little bit more and kind of under the in store than maybe we expected from Larry, but I say Larry's one of those ones. He's good at pretty much everywhere. And then third, you've got Kevin DeBrown. Fourth is Gabe Butler. Fifth, Ryan Kelly. And then 6th through 9th drivers did put down some times. You've got Michael Spell, Todd Merkel, Jack Walls, and Eric Laurie. Unfortunately, Maxwell, you're going to have to relinquish your 10th place position there. However, say it's good to know you would have been a top 10 even without that lap. Then you got Kevin Freeze, Dale Willoughby, James Ledford, Chris Matthews, Todd Kirkwood, Joseph DeCiro, and John Brill there in the 17th position. So it's going to be interesting to see again. There's going to be a lot to watch for these guys tonight. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see exactly what they got in store for us this evening.
Absolutely. And Gael, coming into this, we didn't know how many drivers were going to come, but 17 drivers kind of rivaling about what we've been running most of the season. And this is with a couple of drivers missing out tonight. So definitely got a pretty full field for how our seasons went so far. And this is a very big road course, but these guys are going to find tight corners all around this place where they're going to have some action and some racing. And things to remember, Gael, no cautions tonight. Local yellows only, which means you wreck and you've really solidified where you're going to be at for the most part. You're going to be hoping other people have the same misfortune so that you can catch up. Some storylines I'm going to be watching, Gael. One driver I really want to watch is Ryan Kelly in that 13. We've seen speed out of him all year long, but this is probably not his wheelhouse at road courses. As a former teammate, I've kind of worked with him in practice this week, and he's a couple seconds off the pace of the leaders right now. So don't know that he's got that outright speed this week. And last season alone, both road courses blew the motor both times. Will he do that again tonight and put himself in a little bit of a hole going into the playoffs coming up? That's something to watch. And then the last thing I want to see, this start of the race and turn one. Remember, we're not going to be up at full speed, but definitely going to be fast enough going into turn one that it could be calamity corner right here at the start. Be interesting to see how these drivers take that treacherous turn one going into the infield.
Yeah, exactly right. I say turn one definitely going to be the one to watch here going into this one. And you say you hope that everybody gets out there cleanly, nothing happens. So say no drama, but I mean it's a big braking zone. So like I said, I mean they're going to be going down from about 190 to I believe at least 50, maybe even a little slower. So I mean it's a big braking zone. We see them braking at the start finish line when they're at speed. So yeah, so you kind of hope that everybody gives themselves a little bit of room with one another. But yeah, so that's going to be the kind of the first check mark for these boys is to make sure that they get through there cleanly. So we're going to wait and see. So pace car's just about to peel off, and it's going to be Chad Wilkes leading the field, Larry Yingling to his outside. And in the second row, you've got Kevin DeBrown, Gabe Butler, Ryan Kelly, Todd Merkel. Pace car is in, and green flag is out. We are underway here at Daytona Road Course. 35 laps is the distance, as Chad Wilkes, Larry Yingling side by side here entering turn number one.
Absolutely. Is either driver going to give? Larry's got that outside line. He's going to get a great launch here. Is he going to keep him pinched into one? He does, but it's not going to be enough. Chad Wilkes with a great run coming out of turn one.
And so far, so good. Looks like everybody got through turn one clean, so that's job number one done. But now it's all about the infield section, a very tricky section, easy to overshoot the turns, easy to overshoot, and also miss kind of the braking points. So far, again, clean. Chad's going to be able to stretch out just a little bit here over Larry. You can see everybody starting to single out just that little bit, but man, We got a big mover just a little bit back. You mentioned starting from the, not from the pits, but not putting out a qualifying time. That 5 of Kevin Freeze, he is already +5 in that number 5 machine, plus into that 6th position now.
I expect him to be top 3 by lap 2. The guy's got speed. I know when I was practicing with him this week, I wasn't the fastest, but I was definitely top 3 in speeds most of the week. And me and him were right there with each other within a tenth normally in practice. So I know he's got speed. I know how cautious he's running this, but I also know that I think he's going to have a long run car. He really takes care of that car early on, but still finds a way to make speed. So look for Kevin Freeze to tear his way through these next 3 drivers, really, and find his way up in the top 3 behind Larry and Chad.
Yes, and that's going to also be where the fuel and tire strategies, where that all comes into play. What kind of pit strategy do you want to do when? Because right now, Chad's, I say, he hasn't been able to separate from Larry. Larry's just there right about 0.4 of a second off, actually gaining a little bit here as they get fully up to speed. Looks like we do have at least one car off at the bus stop. I think that was Todd Kirkwood. I think he actually opted to take a tow. I'm looking, actually, I think Eric Laurie. Oh, yeah, you see right there, Eric Laurie, Michael Spell, both having an issue here as well. So we're going to take a look to see if we can find out what exactly happened to them here as we go back and take a look. As saying they're actually coming through the bus stop here, Maxwell. You see a little bit of damage already to that 071 of Eric Laurie. You see Michael Spell trying to work to the outside here. And we'll see, I think, just probably a little bit. Yeah, you see just loss of traction for the 88. And unfortunately comes right across the nose of Eric. Jack Walls just snuck on by there. So unfortunately, a couple of drivers taking a bit of a hit. Eric especially. I think Eric probably going to have to opt to get get a pit stop in and get some damage repairs done to that car. But we'll jump back up front here. So as we start our second lap, Larry is not giving up here, Maxwell. He is definitely keeping the pressure on the 17 car.
Absolutely. Larry Yingling not letting him get out of his sights. This is probably one of the closest times in previous history we've seen Chad Wilkes at a road course and him not just pull away by 2 or 3 seconds after the first lap. And this is one of the bigger road courses we've went to so far. Sonoma and Watkins Glen, fairly large tracks, but under 2 miles. This thing is a pretty large track here, right? 3.56 miles when you add that infield. So definitely the longest route we've took. So for Larry to be right there with him shows just how this track fits his driving style better, fits maybe that aggressive style. And now what I'm looking for is Chad able to save tire while he's up front, or is Larry just riding, trying to save his stuff and come at him later in the long run? And we know Larry Yingling in the 67 always does very well on pit strategy. And we know Chad Wilkes, that he's either hit or miss. He either hits it spot on and gets a great time, or we've caught him speeding a couple times on pit road. So it'd be really interesting to see how that cycle works out. And maybe the 67 is just going to ride here, conserve his stuff, and wait till that pit cycle to really start making some time up on that 17.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see, because right now, lap time-wise, they're only about 0.4 of a second. Chad a little quicker that time, a 1:48.40. Larry ran a 1:48.83, so I say by no means a slow lap for Larry. About saying while they've been doing that, the lap times behind, they've been in about the 1:49s. Kevin, the third quickest car on track, a 1:49.56, so about a second off of Chad's time, just maybe just over half off of Larry, as he just caught the grass there, hitting that kink there, but was able to hang on to it. So it's like Kevin's actually been able to build a little bit of a gap here over that 4th place. Ryan Kelly, I'm going to say Ryan's starting to get his hands full with Kevin Freeze and Gabe Butler there right there in 5th and 6th. So Kevin hasn't been able to get around them yet. But I say with them being stuck behind, this has definitely given Kevin Brown there in the 93 car a little bit of breathing room as well in that 3rd spot.
Absolutely, and I want to give a huge shout out to Gabe Butler here, running in that 6th position. Kevin Freeze run him down and passed him, and I thought he was just going to start pulling away, but Gabe Butler has been running lap times with the 13 and the 5, staying right in their tire track, staying with them. So for a super speedway guy who's used to the big oval here, for him to come out and show his strength here on the road course side of things, it's a pretty big ordeal, as we see Kevin Freeze make that pass on Ryan Kelly into the bus stop for P4.
Yeah, it was a nice move there, able to get him under braking. And as you saw Gabe try to follow through, wasn't able to do so, but yeah, so that's going to move now Kevin Freeze up into 4th, move Ryan Kelly back to 5th. That's 7 spots now gained for Kevin Freeze in that 5 machine. Like you said, I think maybe going for that highest climber, and he's definitely doing that right now. So we'll jump back a little further, because we do have starting to build a pretty big gap here after this top 6. It's going to be now dropped to 7. It's going to be Jack Walls. So we saw, again, we talked about the local yellows. Unfortunately, Jack lost a lot of time there trying to avoid that wreck. So he's now down about 12 or so seconds off those guys in front. But he's holding solidly in the 7th spot. And I'm saying, more importantly, that car is still very clean in that Twisted Tea Toyota. Behind him, you got the 2 of Todd Merkel. Todd getting a little bit more road course experience, because he's actually gone away from the pro stock racing, unfortunately. He's now he's doing some more karting side of things, so it's been pretty fun to hear about from Todd, and definitely look forward to being able to get some more info for him on that. And then rounding out our top 10, you got Michael Spelt. We saw him have that little bit of moment, but he's able to grab a gear, and he's still going as well in 9th, and then James Ledford there rounding out our top 10. And in 11th, we've got the modified of Eric Laurie. I thought he was going to hit the pits right away. He's opted to stay out there. But I mean, that whole front clip is just torn off of that 071 car, but he is still sticking with it and actually still running lap times that are actually quicker than some of these guys in front of him. So hats off to Eric for sticking it out here. And then right now, last car on track is the 90 of John Brill. Saying John, same thing. Car so far just looks clean. So I was saying that's really what you want to be able to do at a very difficult track like this.
Absolutely, and as he rides there, it's not going to be too much longer. You know, maybe 4 or 5 more laps, and at the pace he's running, we're going to see him go a lap down already. Already a minute and 2 off the leader after just 3 laps. So definitely not got the pace in that 90 car tonight, but just trying to get experience. Doesn't run road courses a lot, just trying to get around here and learn a few things. A lot of drivers maybe wasn't able to make the multiple practice sessions they had this week that Area 51 threw up for them. But just out here trying to make laps, learn. Eric Laurie, unfortunate with that incident. You know, that's the reason he's back there. I know he was practicing all week long trying his best, but drivers definitely trying their best. And we got a car that looped it around there in turn 1. I didn't catch who that was.
Yeah, I think that was our 3rd place driver, the 93 of Kevin DeBrown, pulling it up here now, entering turn 1. I said we'll get it up to speed so we can get a good view of it. That's unfortunate, so that's going to get rid of any kind of advantage he had over the guys behind him. And you can see, yeah, it just gets a little too hot, just loops it, just about a half spin, really. It could have been a lot worse there. Grabs the gear and gets going again. But unfortunately, it drops him way off the back of these guys, as I say. So you see, so you got the little driver picture. Say it's been updated. He's got Kevin and his little kitty cat with him there on the driver picture. It's always fun to see there. But yeah, so now Kevin, we're going to jump back to him because we got two good little battles here going on now. You've got Kevin trying to hold off Kevin Freeze. And then Larry up front there still putting a ton of pressure on Chad Wilkes. So we got 2 great battles here up in the top 4 spots.
Absolutely, and I'll be honest. I know how Chad Wilkes is at the road course. I don't see that changing a whole lot up front. My eyes on this battle for 3rd. Kevin Brown, known for short run speed, especially on road courses. But even in my experience running with him at Watkins Glen and maybe having an incident there, we won't talk about that. But just running with him at the road courses, got short run speed, but the long runs, he kind of starts to struggle a little bit. In turn 1, we saw that. Though it is very easy, I want to mention it's very easy to slip up there in turn 1. As you're under the brakes, you're going from 195 miles an hour down to just slow speeds. I'm not exactly sure the mile an hour because when I'm driving, I'm too busy focusing on braking and keeping traction. But that car, as you're downshifting and trying to match revs, right? You go to shift down too quick and you will break rear traction easy, and I think that may have been what happened with that 93. But now he's made those rear tires angry. And you've got a smooth, consistent driver like I talked about pre-race with Kevin Freeze, just solidly being nice to his tires, nice to his equipment, just riding. He's waiting for Kevin's next mistake to pounce on him. And you can see just how much deeper Kevin Freeze can get in the corner than the 93, but he just doesn't have as much drive off. So this battle is one I want to keep an eye on, but we'll also have to keep an eye on that one for the lead because it's tight.
Yeah, we had a couple of good little battles, like you said up front. I say Larry's, I think I think trying to stay on the 17 car of Chad Wilkes, keep him in his sights, keep a little bit of pressure. We saw the same thing with Kevin Freeze, kind of like you said, peek to the inside there in the first international horseshoe there, just to show Kevin, hey, I'm here. But yeah, so far he's able to hold steady in the 93 car. And say we were talking about some of the drivers making some moves forward. Say Michael Spell just got around Todd Merkel, so move Michael now up into that 8th position. As I do mention, also Eric Laurie was able to get around James Ledford. So again, even with that damage, he's still running good lap times. He's actually running the pace of all the way up to 6th position in the 154s. compared to some of those guys in front running in the 154s, 155. So I'll say even with that front clip missing, he's obviously carrying a lot of speed through the infield because we know he's at a big deficit once you get up to the NASCAR banking.
And you talk about the lap times those guys in the back are running, which are pretty good laps for the long run, but not compared to our leader. You look at the last lap our leader ran, it was a 1 minute 50.2. So if you're running 154s in the back, you're 4 seconds a lap off the pace. That just shows how turrent and just insane our leader's lap times are right now, right? So just running crazy laps. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I was looking at the wrong chart. He actually ran a 149 his last lap. So definitely a difference in pace here. Chad Wilkes consistently the last 4 laps running minute 49 lap times.
Yeah, we just got a position change for third. Kevin Freese able to get around that 93 of Kevin Brown through the exit of turn number 1. So move Kevin Freese now up into that third position. So we'll see if he's able to build some gap around that number 93 car, or if maybe see if Kevin's able to kind of keep toe with him and try to see if he can keep the pressure on that 5 car now.
And a beautiful pass right there, especially in a very difficult spot too. I don't know, I didn't see it till you called it, and right there where he made the pass was right there in the little set of S curves before you get to turn 2. So that was a little bit interesting. That's not normally a place you pass. The car is very light and very loose there. So I'm wondering if Kevin Brown just kind of give it to him and said, hey, you're faster, go ahead and go around. But if we get a chance, it may be nice to go see a replay of that while everybody's strung out and just see how he made that pass on Kevin Brown for third.
Yeah, and I actually pulled it up right now, and yeah, it's actually Kevin completely overshooting, unfortunately, turn number 1. Probably got a little bit gun shy after having the issue with the spinning out, so opted to just take the turn wide, and so Kevin Freese is able to take advantage of that and just was able to kind of tuck off to the inside of that 93 car and is able to get the power down and complete the pass there. So, and saying also, I mean, fair play to the 93, made sure he gave that 5 car plenty of room to be able to do that as well. You've seen there's plenty of opportunities, of course, to kind of try to block that position. But I think now Kevin, I think what he's going to be able to do in the 93 car is if he can just kind of pace off the back of this 5 of Kevin Freese, maybe help his tires out a little bit in the long run, maybe learn a little bit what Kevin's been able to do to keep that long run pace up here, maybe help himself out as well for this next stint. That's because next thing is, of course, going to be pit stops. And we talked about the strategy. If these drivers opt to maybe split it evenly, it's going to be around lap 11, lap 12. So I would suspect we'll probably start seeing some drivers in around that time to split this race up evenly here.
Absolutely. And, Kevin Freese, looking at his lap times here in the race, running some good lap times. He had some inconsistencies where he had to pass cars because that just slows you down. But, man, lap 4 running his fastest lap of a minute 49.4. That's right there with our leader. And that's right there mid-run. About what Chad ran that lap is what Kevin ran that lap. Now, these last couple have been minute 50s. And the last lap was a minute 51, but that's where he had to work around Kevin Brown there. So now that he's out in cleaner air, and he's behind, the leader by 12.6 seconds. Huge deficit here. And behind Larry about probably 11.8. So definitely got a chance to put down some laps, see where his pace is at, and see if he can maybe pull a pit strategy. If I'm him, I may opt to pit a little bit early and see if I can take advantage on this 3-mile race course of some fresher tires and just see what that'll do. But Chad Wilkes in the catbird seat with Larry Yingling of being able to pit just a little bit later and being able to maximize the aggressive side of things toward the end of the race, having the freshest set of tires. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But Kevin Freese definitely making me look smart up here by driving his way from his position into P3.
Yeah, however, it's not all done for Kevin Freese because he is just completely hounded by that 93 of Kevin Brown. We'll see if Kevin's going to try to maybe take a look into turn 1. It looks like he's going to stay in line. But unfortunately for Kevin Freese, hasn't been able to just kind of sneak away and try to run away with that third spot. So Kevin in the 93 holding him honest for sure there. And it's kind of a similar situation we have up front there as well with Larry and Chad. There's been a couple times where Chad maybe sneaks away just a little bit, then Larry gets right back to him because last time by Larry Yingling about a half a second quicker than Chad Wilkes, and saying looking at the lap times is 150.8 for Chad, 150.3 for Larry, and then looking at Kevin Freese, Kevin Brown 150.9, 150.6. So these guys are right on top of each other lap time wise. they got a big, like I said, big differential right now between themselves on track. But once these tires have worn, they're really starting to kind of equalize on their speeds. And to say the drop off hasn't been too bad, Max. Well, I really thought it'd be worse of a drop off. And so far, it's only been about a second and a half or so based on from their best times to what they're currently running.
Absolutely, these drivers really doing the best they can out here on the track tonight. And just, with track conditions, the first time we practiced, we had a really hot and slick track. And I think as the week of practice went on, they found that if we could change those settings for the weather a little bit and get this track a little bit cooler, get the ambient temperature down a little bit to give them more grip, that it would help some of these drivers get around the track. I think that's exactly what we're seeing tonight as far as those lap times. We're seeing less cars slip and slide around, therefore keeping their tire wear in check and helping them to get repeatable lap times going and going and going. So it's a beautiful thing to see these guys staying on track and doing it. And now we see a pass for third. We actually see the 93 coming back on him.
Yeah, and that's what I was curious about is if Kevin Freese would be able to kind of get himself away from the 93 and then kind of just be able to focus forward. I'll say Kevin Brown not having any of it. He's going to keep the pressure on that 5 car. And so now he's going to take the third spot back. So these two having a great fight right now. And then, so like I mentioned, still have a really good fight up front too. Larry Yingling, Chad Wilkes just about 6-7 tenths of a second off of one another there as well. And so that's where my question is going to start coming into play here is going to be that pit strategy. We're on lap number 10 now. So this might be one of those opportunities. What's going to be the right decision here? Does Larry consider maybe try to jump Chad by a lap in the pits or not? Because it's one thing to, of course, have the fresher tires, but at the same time, too, you don't know where you're going to come out on track in relation to the guys around you. You, of course, want to come out with some nice, clean air, but it's a very long pit road. And, of course, then you also have to add into the fact that section, like I said, out of the pit road before you hit the pit cone. So there's going to be a lot of potentials for these guys depending on where they might fall back into the track. I say not a lot of cars on track right now, still just, I think, 12 now. But, I mean, say you get caught behind the wrong place at the wrong time, that's going to really cost you some time.
Absolutely, and we see the 93 and the 5 catching John Brewer right there. He smartly pulls over for these two, but I really think that hurt Kevin Freese on the exit there. He's going to lose a little bit of time to that 93, but I want to go back for just a moment, if we can, Gael, to that move Kevin Brown made on Kevin Freese. I'm not going to lie, after watching that again, I don't know that the 5 doesn't have a specific pace he wants to run. And Kevin's running very hard, and we know he's a very aggressive driver in this league. And I wonder if he just didn't like Kevin being behind him for a while, because if you watch, he moves right up to the very top of NASCAR's turn 3 and 4 and just seems to let the 93 go ahead and go on by. Like, if you want to run a faster pace, you go right ahead. I'm trying to watch my tires here. I got a plan. I got a strategy. And I think that's maybe what we saw there. I think Kevin Freese is got a little bit of a trick up his sleeve. He's trying to run a very smart race. Who knows? He may be trying to save those tires to run a lap or two longer and then come pit so that he can really be on the offense toward the end of this race.
Yes, and that's actually a really good point for Kevin Freese because, I mean, yeah, if he's able to maybe now, say, with him following the 93 car again, if he's able to save a little bit of fuel behind that 93 car, maybe stretches that fuel out. So I think I heard 14 and a half, 15 was the window. So if he can maybe get into that 15 lap mark, I mean, that would get him where he's maybe 5 to 6 laps short on fuel. Maybe that's where then he opens up some strategy of maybe saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and maybe take a splash of fuel on my final stop instead of taking tires. And I say with only about 3 to 4 laps at that point to the end of that race, I mean, that could be a really good strategy, which would be saving him probably about 10 seconds, I would think, on track as well. So it definitely could open up some opportunities for that 5 car if he can work that fuel number as well.
Did you say fuel save? Did we have a driver in this field that has won 2 races already on fuel save? Is that maybe why we haven't seen the 67 past the 17 so far this race and just stay hounding him and being around him? That's a neat little thing to think about. And who knows, Larry may be making speed. We haven't rode on board with him yet. I know you like to do it, and I'm not saying he is, but he could possibly, into some of these heavy corners, especially turn 1, be trying to clutch and break into those corners. And that would be very difficult to do, but he could save a lot of fuel that way and stretch it to make it a one-stop race.
Yeah, nope, he's going to prove us wrong. He's going to hit pit road. Now he's going to go for the undercut here. He's got to get it down to speed. I think he was able to get a woe down just in time. So he's pitting here on lap number 12 at 24 to go. So this is that undercut we talked about, Maxwell. So now it's all about for Larry is getting in his pit stall, getting out cleanly. And actually here comes, say, the two cars that I thought might try to stretch out on the field are both coming in now. Kevin Freeze as well hitting pit road. So let's say we're going to have two of our top four hitting the pits now. I don't suspect we'll see much strategy here. I think it's going to be 4 tires and fuel here. So now it's going to be, the question is going to be, where does Larry come out in relation to the rest of the field here? Because he's just now rolling out of his pits. And he is going to have some cars coming up. Right, you see John Brill just go by there. And then here comes Ryan Kelly. And I think Gabe Butler is going to be in that mix as well. So you see Larry's going to have to stay through the pit speed here until he gets to that cone. He's going to come out right alongside, I think, that number 1 car of Gabe Butler. Looks like he actually is going to stay just in front of him here. So he is going to have a little bit of traffic here, though, Maxwell, with that 13 and the 90. So this is going to be, well, to see now how he can navigate through here, see if he can make that happen.
And this could really hurt Larry. He gets by the 90 of John Brill. We know he's been letting everybody by. But Ryan Kelly's not just going to pull over. This is still a points battle. And he's still got a race of his own going on. But he's not had the pace, as he proves me wrong.
Yeah, so he's like, after you.
So, you know, let's ignore everything I said. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. But we see that was going to be a difficult task, and luckily Larry had that work out for him. So now what we got to see is Chad Wilkes when he pits. Is it going to work for him?
Yeah, exactly right. So, and he pitted just in front of, or just behind Chad there. So, I mean, based on that, you would suspect Chad will be coming out somewhere in relation to them. But yeah, so now it's going to be all about, does Chad react to this, or does he going to go a little further? And yep, here he comes. He's going to react to this pit stop strategy as well. And he's going to hit pit road here coming to lap number 13. So that's going to bring Chad Wilkes in here. So we'll see what the 93 does. Does he come in as well? Or maybe he tries to opt to stay out one extra lap here. Maybe get a lap led in that 93 car. So we'll take a look and we'll watch from his point of view. And he is going to stay out, it looks like. So see if Kevin DeBrown can maybe get a lap led as the 17 of Chad Wilkes hits his pit stall from the P1 position there. And we're going to be watching for Larry Yingling because he is coming with a full head of steam here down the front stretch.
I'll tell you what I'm watching. I'm watching that 17th pit entry, and he slowed all the way down to about 47 miles an hour instead of the 55 on pit entry. So, and you see that that's going to give Larry Yingling that huge advantage there, because I know Larry, he maximizes that pit road entry every time. And so that little bit of slowness coming in for Chad really going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, and actually I think I can look at some numbers as well, tell you how big of a difference it was. And yeah, it is significant, like you were saying, Maxwell. Did you mention Ryan Kelly? He's just now hit pit road as well. So say that leaves just a few drivers left to pit. Our now our race leader, the 93 of Kevin Brown. If he can hit that start finish timing line ahead before Larry gets to him, he can get a lap led in that 93 car. I'm not sure if he's going to quite have enough to do. We'll have to keep an eye and see on that one. And then it also leaves, I believe, Gabe Butler and Jack Walls as drivers yet to make their pit stop. But we're talking about that pit lane time, though, Maxwell. It was 50.75 seconds for Larry Yingling, 52.22 for Chad Wilkes. So, I mean, right there, that's a second and a half difference between them. And I mean, you can see that's the gap that they pretty much have on track with each other, along with the tire difference. He's got about a 4-second gap, if I'm not mistaken, over Chad Wilkes now.
And what did we talk about pre-race? Between these two drivers, knowing they're pretty equal in speed most of the time, what was going to make the difference? Pit road. And we talked about the 17 is either hit or miss, and he was probably worried about sliding through that pit stall or speeding on pit road because he's had that before, so he had a more conservative approach. And this is the difference we see. But Larry's not out of the ballpark yet, because I can't think of anything to make Chad Wilkes drive even harder than seeing him at a road course come out of pit road second, thinking that he's just giving the lead to somebody and knowing what kind of pace he has in that 17. I give it 4 or 5 laps before he's right on the back bumper of that 67.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. So I think he knows that he just ran his fastest lap of a race, 1:48.80. So we'll see. I say now this will be Chad's first lap up to speed as well. And I say watching the gap, it's down to about 3 seconds. So I think Chad is closing that gap on him. And I think that's one of those things too for Chad. It probably kind of unleashes that 17 car a little bit, where he's probably just trying to play it smart, keep Larry in his rear view mirrors. But now he's like, okay, now I got to be aggressive. I'm going to go on the offensive. And so I think now it's kind of game on for the 17 car to go after them. Did he mention also, though, the pit stop cycle? Here's Kevin Freeze in the 5 car. He has gotten around the 93 car. You can see the gap between them about 3 to 4 seconds as well. There's going to be about a 2-lap difference on tires, though, so we'll see if that comes into play or not at all. And then Gabe Butler right now, he's yet to make his first stop. He's actually been able to stretch this number pretty far here, Maxwell. So we're on lap number 14 here, so he's going to be able to go 15 laps on fuel, so maybe Gabe going to do, as I say, the commentator's curse gets a little loose there, able to gather back up quickly, though, so maybe we'll see Gabe, maybe he tries 4 tires and then a splash of fuel towards the end of the run, so it'll be fun to see what that one car has in store for us tonight.
And the thing with the one car, if he's able to make this kind of pace and save fuel, that's all fine and great. But in the grand scheme of things, is it going to help him in the long run? Because he's going to have to be backing it down lap after lap, trying to save fuel at a slower pace while these other guys can go full out. You would think eventually they would catch and pass him with the way this track is and just the vast difference in lap time.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what it's going to look like. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's just trying to run long this one and then he'll come in later. But I suspect we'll see him in this time. Because the other thing he can do is, I mean, at this point, he can run this race backwards too, Maxwell. So, and Judy mentioned, Chad Wilkes, he reacted to that. He ran a 148.25 to Larry's 148.85. So about 0.6 of a second for Chad, as Gabe Butler does hit pit road now. But what I'm thinking for Gabe, though, is, let's say, okay, we talked about maybe he can go 14, 15 laps on fuel, so he's pitting right now at 21 to go. If he pits around, let's say, lap 20, or sorry, if he pits around 14, 15 to go, that's not that far away from now. He could just take that splash of fuel, still have relatively good tires as well. And I think that might be, we'll have to watch and see, obviously, but say maybe he'll play the fuel game backwards. I say if I was in his shoes, that's probably something I would try at this point.
And then in the shoes he's in, he knows he's not the fastest car out there. He knows he's about a mid-pack car, probably a 5th or 6th place car right now. But you see that even when he pitted, he was still not in the lead. Larry and Chad had such a big lead that they were able to pit and still come out on fresh tires in front of him. And so you think if he does the same amount of laps this time, that only doubles the distance. I don't see where it ends up benefiting him. I think it actually, in a weird way, hurts him unless he can only make it on one stop. If he can stretch this run all the way to the checkers, I think it does him good. But other than that, I don't think it's going to help a whole lot. But I've been proven wrong before, Gael. We'll just have to wait and see on this one.
Yeah, also we'll have to watch what he does. I say the one thought I have is that I think this would save him about 10 seconds or so. Basically, say usually a 4-tire stop with fuel and tires, it's about 14, 15 seconds. I feel like if he needs about 6 laps of fuel, that's probably going to be about 5, 6, maybe 7 seconds. Maybe it'd be an 8-second stop, something like that. I mean, because right now, as I'm going back and looking at that one car, he's about 5 seconds off of Ryan Kelly for a top 5 position. And so, I mean, that right now, that could be the difference between that strategy. I mean, that could put him, basically cycle him 5 seconds ahead of Ryan Kelly. So it's going to be fun to see what Gabe does here. We'll have to see if it does work out or not for him. But Judy mentioned James Ledford, Todd Merkel. They also are hitting pit road. Just coming out now is the 48 car Todd right behind him as well in the 2. Oh, as I said, Kevin Luce there entering turn number 1. Catches it back, but it's going to cost him, again, a little bit of time. It seems like that turn 1 is definitely what's been catching him a couple of times here now.
So easy to overshoot. So easy to do. I'm shocked in my lap around the track for you guys that I did not overshoot it. Because you can ask Gael. All practice long, I kept complaining. I can't get into turn 1. I keep overshooting it. I keep sliding. But finally made it in through there. And, Kevin Freese just struggling with that just a little bit. So look for him to try to work on that turn and see if he can't get more pace out of that 93 car.
Yeah, I think that was the 93 trying to chase that 5 down. He was faster that time, 49.40 to 50.12. But then, of course, he's going to give it all up and then some with that aggressive pit entry there. Or I should say the aggressive turn 1 there. So, unfortunately, it's going to drop him now to about 6 seconds, it looks like, off of that number 5 car. So you can see right now Kevin in NASCAR 1. You have to jump pretty much all the way through NASCAR 2 for Kevin Freese. So, pretty big gap between the two of them. The gap up front, though, it is slowly shrinking. Not a quick shrink, but it's down to about 1.6 now.
Absolutely. So, drivers trying to pick up pace and keep running here. But Gael, I'm interested in seeing what these strategies are going to do. I'm interested to see what these drivers are going to be able to pull off. We see Chad Wilkes is still slowly rolling in that 67 of Larry Yingling as well. And so I'm interested to see how that run goes and to see if Chad can indeed get around Larry. And then does Chad try to come and short pit Larry? Maybe he stops halfway through this run. I don't know if you're going to want tires or not for the end, but you're already coming down pit road that long. I mean, you might as well grab some. But like you said, we haven't seen a whole lot of fall off. So I'm really trying to think about when these drivers' next pit stop is going to be and how they want to strategize this, as we are now past the halfway point, I do believe, or we're right there at it, either one. So we're really interested to see how these drivers are going to strategize this out toward the end.
Yeah, we're right there, right at just about the halfway point. Like you said, lap 17 of 35 now. And as you can see, Chad Wilkes, he has caught Larry in the 67 car. You're right, though. So strategy-wise, I think you're exactly right, Maxwell. I think if you're Chad Wilkes, you see how long it's taking you to get back to that 67 car. We know Larry pitted around lap 11. Chad pitted the next time by at lap 12. So maybe if you're Chad here, maybe you look at pitting around lap 21, 22, and try to jump the 67 by a lap. Or the other option on that one too is maybe, as you see, Larry's trying to work through some traffic here at the bus stop. Probably one of the worst places to catch traffic there. But you see Maxwell, he's going to give the inside line for the leaders here. That's one of those things too. You hope you catch these traffic at the right time, but I think that definitely allowed Chad Wilkes here to catch just a little bit closer here coming out of the bus stop.
I think it helped Chad Wilkes a whole lot. He now has a draft on the front stretch here and going to show his road course prowess going into turn one as he looks low, may try to follow Yingling in. Look at the braking difference going into the corner. And I'm expecting to see Chad really roll this turn one and get a great launch out to set him up for this infield section to put the pressure on the 67.
Yeah, saying they got one more car to work with too. Not too far away is the 83 of Jack Walls. Jack right now, I'm saying he's in the 7th spot. Again, that's just showing the outright pace that these guys have had tonight. Jack's had a pretty solid night himself there. Started 8th, currently in 7th. But yeah, I mean, these guys are just putting on some wicked fast laps right now up front. So yeah, I'd be curious to see. Like I said, I want to see the other thing that Chad could do is maybe he reacts when Larry pits. He pits with him and maybe tries to use that number one pit stall to his advantage. So it'll be very intriguing. But at this point, it's all going to really depend on, I think, which driver is in front of the other come pit stop time. Which, as I say, at this point, I would say probably about 6 more laps when I think realistically we'll see that pit window open for our front runners here.
Absolutely. Chad Wilkes getting a great run out of that infield section as they go up onto the high banks. He is right there on Yingling. I'm looking for a move going into the bus stop, but we've also got this 83 of Jack Walls in front of him. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. Jack Walls is a very aggressive driver. We know that. Really interested to see how this bus stop goes as the 17 looks and then thinks better of it and looks like Yingling's going to make it through, and Wilkes, the 83, gives it to him. So now the battle is on, going to be coming out of the bus stop. Will the 17 get the run he needs to go into turn one? I think he lost a little exit speed there, but we'll see. He had an opportunity to capitalize and kind of decided to patiently wait. Will that patience persevere for him in the longer run? We'll have to wait and see. And remember that 17 does have 1 lap pressure tires this entire run, so that can be in his favor as far as his braking inputs and his drive off the corners.
Yeah, exactly right. So we officially do cross the halfway point here. As Z-Check gets right to the rear bumper. There has to give probably a little extra stop to make sure not to get into the back of that 67 car. Kind of shoes on the other foot here now, where you've got the pressure being put on by the 17 of Larry Yingling. Last time, but I actually look at now, Larry's actually having to protect that inside line as Chad's going to peek to the outside. See if he maybe does the over-under here through the horseshoe, but Larry gets great traction there out of the horseshoe.
Absolutely. The 17, I believe, is faster at this point in the run. He's just trying to pick his pass. If I'm Wilkes, I try to just work these next couple of corners and try to get that massive run back out of this infield section. I'd set up right here to start getting that great run out and use that high bank section to really get side by side going into the bus stop and make Larry concede. That would be my goal. And you see Chad hard on the brakes trying to get ready to get that great run out.
Yeah, so he did exactly it. Just had a little bit of a bobble there. It cost him a little bit of time on the exit. You can see Larry's able to sneak away just a little bit there. I think that's going to be enough to let Larry kind of have some breathing room going into that bus stop. And that's really all the difference it takes. Just that little bit of a bobble or tire spin, whatever it was. You see Larry actually holding the bottom there too to try to break the draft a little bit there as well, as now they hit that bus stop here. So you got in front of them is going to be John Brill, but they're going to catch him after the bus stop, so they'll be just about perfect for Larry. He might be able to steal a little bit of draft as well off that 90 car to just kind of offset what that 17's been able to get off of him.
Absolutely, and I'm telling you, Gael, I'm thinking there's only one major spot that we're going to see this pass made, maybe two, but I've seen the strength of the 17 in one particular corner, and that's that corner coming right out of the infield onto NASCAR Turn 1. I think that is going to be the spot that makes or breaks whether Chad Wilkes gets around. Because I think Turn 1, the drivers are just too even. Chad gets in a lot harder, but Larry really just rolls it really well. As I say that, though, Chad looks to the outside, doesn't get the run, thinks better of it. Going to follow him now through the S's into Turn 2.
Yeah, I saw John Brillo go way wide to make sure leaders had plenty of room to get through there. So that's definitely a sketchy turn by itself. That much worse when you've got other cars around. You see, oh yeah, Chad's starting to power slide that back of that car out of the turn there. And yeah, so right now Larry's able to again stretch out just a little bit here, give himself that little bit of critical breathing room that lets him kind of just focus forward, doesn't have to look behind him, watch that 17 car. I'd say right now these guys are doing a really good job with one another. A little further back, I say that fight with Kevin Freeze, Kevin DeBrown still rages here. It's about a 4-second gap between them. Kevin has reeled in the gap a little bit here. And also Ryan Kelly starting to slowly close down Gabe Butler starting to slowly close down on Ryan Kelly. Down to about 2.5 seconds. So say with Gabe having about 2 lap pressure tires.
And speaking of tires, we're at that point in the run now as we're on lap 20 that we have to start thinking. We have a 5-lap race. We're on lap 20. Last time we pitted was lap 12, so you would think the next time these drivers come down would be lap 24. But does somebody try to pit a lap or two earlier, get some fresh tires, and try to maximize the last run with their tires?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the question is what's the best approach here? Do you want to, same thing, do you want to have the fresh tires earlier? Do you want to maybe try to run those fresh tires later on? Because right now, say, looking at the lap times, Larry and Chad, they both put their best laps on after that fresh set of tires in the 148s. And Larry, he's dropped about 2 seconds or so. Same thing for Chad. So we know at this point that there is definitely a 2-second drop-off on the tires here. But just the question is going to be when does it make the most difference? But yeah, right now, though, wow, Chad is able to get into turn 1 so deep there, maybe a little too deep there, is able to gather back up though, but I think he's going to lose a little bit of what he had just gained there out of that turn 1.
Chad Wilkes going into desperation mode, but if I were him, I wouldn't worry too much about the track on pass. I'd be more worried about making sure, no matter what, that I get to pit road before Larry Yingling, and then I absolutely got to maximize my pit entry without speeding. And I also have to maximize that outlap on fresh tires. While the tires are cold and a lot of drivers struggle, he needs to take that road course experience and truly set down a blazing lap early on those tires, get the lead, and then from there he can play defense, which at road course I think is a lot easier sometimes than offense, because you see Larry Yingling, I don't think he's the faster car, but he's definitely able to take the line that Chad wants and be fast enough to cause him to not be able to make the pass.
Yeah, Larry's doing everything right now in that 67 car, and he's actually been able to stretch out just a little bit here over that 17. So before we hit that final set of pit stops, let's run through the field and see where all of our drivers are at the moment. So say obviously Larry Yingling leading the race right now. Behind him is Chad Wilkes there in second. They've been putting on a good fight all race long. In third, you've got the 5 of Kevin Freeze. He is +8 from his starting spot. Again, kind of wonder what he could have been doing had he opted to maybe put a qualifying lap in and start further towards the front, but he's doing a great job as well in that 5 machine. Then a little further back, you've got the 93 of Kevin DeBrown. Kevin is about 4.5 seconds off of Kevin Freeze. To say they've been kind of going back and forth lap times with one another. Last time by, they were 0.02 of a second apart. And then in 5th, you've got Ryan Kelly, and you see right behind him is also that 6th place car we mentioned, Gabe Butler. I say Gabe is, I think for me, he's the question mark on what that strategy is going to be for the 1 machine. And actually, I think Kevin Freeze may have just had a bit of an off track. He did at the bus stop, and I believe that is going to, that's going to allow the 93 to get back by for that 3rd position. Let's go back and we'll take a quick look what happened to Kevin here. But I think, just overshot the bus stop just a little bit. Actually I think maybe caught a little bit too much curb. I think that just really upset the car there. He has to lock it down to keep it from spinning out into the grass. And that little mistake's what's been able to give Kevin Brown that 3rd spot right back.
He just clipped the grass. That's all he did. He just barely clipped it, and it was enough to kick that car loose. And I'm really shocked it gave him that big of a fit right there. But that was a huge, huge mistake, but a very, very, very simple one to make.
And a great save, though.
Absolutely. Save of the race. But But I want to just give a shout out right now, Gail, to all these drivers because, to my knowledge, which I don't know through your stuff you have or through my info, I don't even know if we can figure it out. But to my knowledge, I've never seen drivers coming out of that bus stop having to really slow down a lot, which tells me that no one's really getting a time penalty through there. Everybody seems to be hitting their marks for the most part through that very treacherous part of the track. So, an attaboy to all these drivers out here, truly showing us how it's done and not getting those time penalties that would cost them tons of spots.
All right, we also have some strategies. Like Gabe Butler making me look smart this time. He did do the strategy I talked about. Ran it long on the first run. Now just hit pit road here at 14 to go. And he's a 6-second stop for him. So basically, actually, we need to jump to the leaders because Larry Yingling did not want to be undercut by Chad Wilkes. Larry hits pit road here now with 13 to go. So that's gonna now Chad's gonna have to be pretty much running a money lap here, qualifying lap, to see if he can keep that gap to the 67 car. But yeah, so now it's to say it's pretty much time for the strategies to start really showing up here. Larry, the first of our leaders to pit, and then we mentioned the one car he opted to do fuel only, which saves him again about 8 to 10 seconds of those guys that are going to do 4 tires and fuel. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those numbers even out here over the run.
Absolutely, and Kyle, I'm not gonna lie. As far as the battle for the lead, I'm afraid that might have just solidified the race winner. Larry Yingling doing the strategy I said the 17 needed to, and as I watched the 17 go around the track, he just kind of went into a 4-wheel drift through one of the infield corners. So definitely not laying down good lap time doing that. So I think he missed his opportunity. I could be wrong, but I think the 17, absolutely with no cautions in this race, has missed his opportunity to get by Larry Yingling. Pit road is the easiest place to pass, and getting those fresh tires after he's already angered on catching Larry was going to be the way to go. And if he stays out and tries to even make lap time now, he's just going to lose almost 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap because they had dropped all the way down in the 150s after running 148s to start. So I really think that Larry Yingling has just played the pit strategy right. He's done the Ryan Kelly pit strategy, been the first one to pit road. And no matter if it's a road course, short track, or intermediate track, we see the same result each time here on iRacing, that it gets you out front. And with the packages we have, it helps you lead. As we see the 17 now come to pit road, let's see if he maximizes this entrance a little better. Yes, only slows down to about 52 mile an hour getting in, so a little bit better. And it looked like he carried speed for a lot longer, but now we got to see if he gets in his box and what kind of strategy he pulls and comes out. Maybe he takes no tires at all. We'll see.
Yeah, they do need to mention for Larry Yingling, critically for him, he came out in clean air. He got out just in front of the 93 and the 5 car, so he was able to not have to stress about them. As Larry, as you see, just crosses pit entry now, so we'll jump back to Chad Wilkes. He is getting tires on now, and I think that's going to be Larry just passing him now. So it's still going to be close between the two of them, but I think Larry, like you said again, is going to extend his lead just that little bit here. And so I say now it's again it's going to be back on the foot of that 17 car to have to try to bring that gap back down, because I think this time by Larry's actually able to extend that lead just a little bit further this time. As you can see, Larry's sending into the NASCAR International Horseshoe, I should say. And also need to mention the 93.5, they pit together here, say both of the Kevins. So I say they're going to try to keep this fight with one another as Ryan Kelly, he hits pit road as well. So I say everybody looks like they're opting to go ahead and pit once they got in that window and not stretch it any further.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to actually give an attaboy to Chad Wilkes, under adversity and as far as that car sliding around and doing. I think he come out of pit road this time a little bit closer than he did the first round of pit stops, actually. And I'm shocked to say that, but I think his pit entry really made a lot of the difference there. He really got in his box quick. So he's a couple seconds back. My telemetry won't update till they hit the start-finish line. You may have a more up-to-date telemetry than I do, but it'd be interesting to see how quick Chad Wilkes can run this deficit down.
Yeah,
and
right
maybe
now
he learns.
I'm sorry, you say right now it's about 4 seconds, it looks like at the moment. And you're right that the pit lane time, say Larry still, he had a huge pit lane time, 50.02. Chad Wilkes, so he had a 51.07, so like you said, it was about a full second quicker than his previous one. So yeah, so now it's gonna all be, I'd say at this point, I mean, Chad's just gonna have to kind of do what he does best and put down some monster laps and I think just try to keep the pressure on Larry these final 12 now, coming up to I believe 11 laps to go in this race.
Yes, not a whole lot of time, but here's the difference Chad Wilkes needs to focus on. He needs to focus on the racetrack and not Larry. I think he got too caught up in trying to pass Larry that he started burning his rear tires up. And we see that in real NASCAR, right? Guys focus so hard on passing somebody that they tear their stuff up so quick, and then they hurt in the long run. Chad's got the car. He's got the pace. At the line, it's already down to 3.8. So he's got the car. He's got the laps. He can do it. I can see visually through my camera lens that I've got going here that he is gaining on Larry Yingling. I can physically see it. He just needs to make sure he's not tearing the tires up and he's being smooth on the exits. He can probably get in really deep, but he needs to make sure his exits are not spinning those tires. That way he has the drive off he needs to make the pass later this run.
Yeah, exactly right. And that gap is just ever shrinking now down to about 2.8 seconds. So Chad definitely putting the pedal to the metal here. And saying that 5 for 3rd, say that one's still ongoing as well. As you can see, Kevin Freeze about 3 seconds off of Kevin DeBrown. So these guys continuing their fight as well. And we mentioned the pit strategy by Gabe Butler. That's been enough right now. We'll see if it stays or not. But right now that's put the one car in front of the 13 car by about 4 seconds. So now it's just going to be about what the tire difference is between that one and the 13. So we'll see if that strategy plays out for the one to get him top 5 tonight.
Absolutely. So we see that most of these positions, we see Kevin Brown and Kevin Freeze, they're also in a similar boat. You know, they're within about, 2.5 second difference between the two, maybe a little closer, I don't know. But as far as the rest of these drivers, we only have 6 guys left on the lead lap. Gabe Butler and Ryan Kelly, a good, 4.5 seconds apart. Nothing really battles going on right there at the moment. Kevin Brown and Kevin Freeze, probably a battle will come together here shortly, I would think. I would think Kevin Freeze would probably have a second shot after making that mistake, trying to come back after Kevin Brown, see what he can do. But the battle we're really focusing on here at the end is the 67 and the 17.
Oh, and I think we just had something happen in the bus stop that really hurt Kevin Freeze, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go back and take a look here. So unfortunately, I think we definitely had some troubles here through the bus stops. We'll take a look at it. You see Michael Spell, he loops it in the bus stop, and I think right behind him, James Ledford, I think, yeah, he goes through too hot as well. But then I think at some point Kevin Freeze, he sees this, and I think it affects him as well. Oh, yeah, no, he tries to get through the bus stop, and unfortunately Michael Spell is merging back out on track, and that just completely hurts the 5 car and tries to get the throttle back down, and just say the grip was already gone on those tires. So unfortunately, I'll say Kevin Freeze just really wrong place, wrong time, was really trying to hustle hard to get back to that 93 car. And so unfortunately that's dropped him now about 15 seconds or so back from the 93. So yeah, unfortunately for Kevin Freeze, that's probably solidified the 93 car in that 3rd spot after all that.
Absolutely, and what heartbreak for Kevin Freeze. And, normally we give benefit of the doubt to these drivers most of the time, but Gael, just to be completely transparent, I think that's completely on that 88. He knows that's the racing line. If he has his relative up, he can see that a lead lap car is coming. Michael Spell's not even on the lead lap. James Ledford pulled off in a runoff area and then merged back on through the apron, which was what you need to do. Michael Spell merged back on into the middle of the racing line and just cost a driver a top 3 spot, a spot on the podium, a spot for interviews, and a paid position at a track that Kevin Freeze has been practicing all week long, because he just was, for lack of better words, just not paying attention there. And so I'm afraid the admins may have to go back and look at that incident. And this is why I was vouching a lot of times for some admin cautions for this race, for those reasons right there. Because now you've took a top contender out because of someone else's mistake that should have really... The mistake wasn't the problem. The merging was the problem. So I feel for Kevin Freeze. I have been in his shoes before, and that is gut-wrenching. He is definitely not going to be happy after this race. I'm sure conversations will be had, but just tough break for that 5.
Yeah, really unfortunate break for Kevin there, but I mean he's still holding solidly in fourth though, so he is going to get the highest climber. But yeah, I mean there's definitely some things that you of course wish would have gone differently there for him. But I'm going back to this race up front because Chad Wilkes is doing what we said here, Maxwell. He is closing the gap down on the 67 car, so we're approaching 8 to go at the line. But I mean, Chad has just been putting down some monster laps. I'd say his fastest lap of the race, he actually wound up going a 147.68. And say in comparison, Larry's best lap's a 148.51. So I mean, he put almost a full second on Larry. So I mean, he is definitely starting to try to push that number and try to see if he can get that gap down. It's down to about 1.6, about 1.5 seconds here at the line as we cross 8 to go. So I was saying that we saw last time by Chad was able to get there, but now is there going to be, can he find a way to get around that 67 car? And actually, Larry's going to be in a little bit of traffic here coming out of the first turn.
And you know, to be real with you, Larry Yingling could encounter exactly what Kevin Freese did for this battle for the lead. Some of these guys may not pay attention to who's behind them and could really cause some trouble for these race leaders here. So it ain't over till it's over. It ain't over till the very last lap. You see the 071 smartly trying to move out of the way of these race leaders, but is this going to hurt Chad Wilkes, where this driver has blended onto, not knowing where to get out of the way at? Chad looks like he's going to make that pass clean and okay. And now his focus has got to be Larry Yingling. He's got to focus on catching him. And I'll be honest, if I'm Chad, after running behind him and trying it the easy way before, this may be my aggressive driving style. But if I get to Yingling, I use up that back bumper just a little bit, and I move him out of the way and show him, hey, I'm the fastest car here. Quit running my line. Get out of the way. I'm here to win a race today. Because we know Chad focuses so hard on these road courses. But we also know they're teammates. But you know how it was when I was on the team with them, Gael. We race each other harder than we race anybody else. Teammate just means they got a special target on their back. So 17, don't look for him to do any favors for that 67 or the 67 to do any for the 17. They're going to be having a boxing match with this all the way till the end.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun fight to the end. And I'll say it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, it's down to just about a second here as you see they come through the bus stop there. Larry's now heading into NASCAR forward back towards the trioval here. So he's just about to cross the line. That'll get us back to now 7 to go. It's about a second between them. And like we saw last time, Chad was able to get there, but then that's about where he stalled out. So looking on the map here, they don't have much traffic here for a little while until they get to Ryan Kelly. So I'll say right now it's pretty much between the two of them for this remainder of the 7 laps. But so you never know, of course, on the pit stop cycle, someone might cycle out near him. But I'll say right now for Larry, he's going to have to start looking. I think he's going to have to avoid looking in his mirrors because that 17 is just getting closer and closer behind him. And say it's for Larry, I think it's going to be all about getting that getting that exit, getting that drive off the turns, and building that gap to avoid having the 17 right on your bumper at the critical points of those turns. Like you said, turn 1, the bus stop, those really heavy braking points that where we've seen Chad's just able to send that car in so deep.
Absolutely, Chad is now within a second of race leader Larry Yingling. This is now where he can start setting up these moves, and he knows after last time. He cannot do what he did last time. If he wants to finish second, he does what he did last time. But if he wants to capitalize at a place he knows he can win, he's going to have to be 110% aggressive. He's going to have to wrestle it from him, and he's going to have to give it everything he's got, even if that means a little bit of the chrome horn. And I'm not saying wreck the guy, but definitely maybe give him a bump out of a corner, get him loose, or give him a bump into the corner, make him overshoot. You know, you got to do what you got to do to win these races in Area 51 because they don't come easy anymore. You know, Larry Yingling dominates this thing, and with Ryan Kelly, this is Chad's first real attempt to try to get a win this season. And this is our former champion, right? Who won quite a few races last season.
Our defending champion, 17 car. So the thing is for Chad, too, is, I mean, he's unfortunately had to miss a couple races just due to commitments and stuff like that. So I say the win, obviously, I mean, that's going to be huge for him because that would lock him into that Final 4 race playoff with the 7 other drivers. So I was saying he knows Larry's got the wins in his belt, under his belt, and same thing for the 13 car Ryan Kelly. So, I mean, he's there now. As you can see, he gets out of turn number 1. There's right there with him as they go through the S's into the International Horseshoe. But yeah, just the question is where you got to first get there close enough to make the move. But yeah, then this question is what does that 17 do to try to force that 67 kind of out of his groove and get that position on him?
Absolutely, because here's the thing. In a normal circumstance, I would say pressure the guy into a mistake. You're asking Chad Wilkes to pressure Larry Yingling into a mistake. Do we see many mistakes from that 67 car? Very,
Nope.
very, very rarely.
Yeah, he is a very talented and very just, as like I said, it's hard to phase him, and so yeah, so I mean, say Chad's there now, so now he's just got. I think for Chad, it's all about the exit speed, and like I said, exiting here and back into NASCAR 1, that's going to be a critical juncture, and then out of the bus stop. I think those are going to be the two most crucial spots for Chad. If he can get that exit speed that he needs out of one of those turns to get at least to the bumper, the 67, show your nose, try to make Larry kind of miss his marks, I think that's going to be the best opportunity for that 17 car.
And I think Chad matches Larry's exit speed. But in this bus stop, I really think Larry actually has a benefit here. I think he gets the better runs. He's got a little bit of a different way he drives, and notice he brings it out lower. And when you bring it out lower, you're bringing it out straighter. You're having less tire spin. Therefore, it gives you a better run into NASCAR 3 and 4 and all the way down this front stretch. Now, I think Chad is a whole lot better under braking, especially in turn 1. I think that's where he makes a lot of his time up. But I think Chad is going to have to work on his exit coming out of the infield section. I think that is his one shot where Larry's not exactly the strongest. Not bad, but not the strongest. You see Chad can get right to him in turn 1, but he's not going to be able to make that pass there. Larry's going to drive in deep enough that pass isn't going to get made there. I think it's going to have to come out of this infield section where it's really, really flat and where Chad is used to these type conditions and is very strong with it.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. It's right now we have 5 to go here, so I say it's going to have to happen quickly for Chad to get the win here tonight. And I think the other thing for Chad is if he can maybe force Larry into having to take a defensive line, could kind of make his exit of that little bit worse, like we talked about. As you see a little bobble there from the 17 car, just try to get on throttle just a little bit too early there. I think that's going to be the other thing for Chad. If he can force Larry to protect the inside, kind of compromise his exit, I think that's where it's going to be really game on as well for Chad Wilkes.
Absolutely, and Ryan Kelly is a teammate, but Ryan Kelly also probably does not want to finish the race a lap down, but he is going to do what I thought he was going to do. He's going to go ahead and concede that position to both drivers running with him weekly. Class act, knowing he doesn't have the speed to hang on, knowing he's in the 6th spot, and, you know, shout out to Ryan Kelly, and he's probably going to come after me after the race for this is kind of a joke, but shout out to former teammate Ryan Kelly for not blowing his engine in this race this week. We were talking before the broadcast about how the last 2 road courses, Ryan has always messed with his shifting a little too much and popped the engine mid-race, but he has made all the laps so far, and I hope I haven't commentator cursed him.
Yeah.
I hope he can bring it home tonight and just have a good, solid finish just to keep his season going.
As I was about to say, we still got 4 to go, so I say don't speak too soon, but yeah, hopefully for Ryan it makes it to the end. As he, again, Chad just sends it so deep here in the turn number 1. He's able to get from about, I would say, about 5 car lengths he's able to gain on that 67 car. Gets right to the bumper there. And I'm saying it was right there. Say this is the closest he's been, the best exit he's gotten out of turn number 1. He's got to make the most of this as he pushes to the outside of Larry Yingling here.
He's going to have. He tried this move before. He's got to cross under this time, and he's going to. He's going to cross under and at least get a straighter shot off this corner, staying a little bit closer, losing a tiny bit of ground, but not much to Larry. This is where he can set up now for that run out of the infield. Hopefully he can get that run. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of cheering to see if the 17 can make the pass, just because it would be awesome to see a pass this late in the race. And you see that's what Chad's trying to do. He's trying to go for these straighter runs, but I think he overkilled too much in that last corner. He's going to have to wait yet another lap to try to make this work.
Yeah, Larry, like you said, Larry's a cool, calm, and collected driver, and he is just hitting his marks. I say no matter what Chad does, it's almost as if Larry doesn't even have his mirrors on right now, and he's just hitting his marks as if that 17 isn't anywhere close to him. So the one thing that they do have going for them, I believe they'll probably be pretty much clean traffic here to the end of this one. So now it's going to be kind of the all-out brawl here. We got about 3.5 laps left to go, be 3 at the line. As again, Chad closes that gap through the bus stop. We'll see what kind of momentum difference they get on the exit. I think this time, just a tiny bobble from the 17 car. It looked like Larry had a bit of a moment, but he was able to keep it underneath him and say they hold pretty steady on the exit there.
We had one driver right behind them. I'm glad they slowed down because they went straight through the bus stop, through the runoff area, and I was hoping they didn't just collect the 17 and the 67, but they went ahead and took their time penalty I talked about and started slowing down for it. But Chad a little far back. Let's see if he can get a good run again through turns 1 and see if he can really set this exit up, going for that wide arc. If he gets to Larry, he's not wanting to use that bumper. I think he runs that line of Yingling and puts a little bumper, gets him a little wiggly, gets him a little loose, and then takes that momentum and tries to run with it and see if he can at least get side by side with Larry is what I would be going for. And as the laps wind down, desperate times may call for desperate measures on that. I've seen it before where a teammate moved another for the win.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I would say that battle for third, it's not over. Kevin DeBaron, he had a moment, and so you see Kevin Freese, he's back to within about 2.5 seconds about where they were before the unfortunate incident kind of cost the five a ton of time. So I'll say Kevin Freese, he's going to be doing the same thing, trying to put the pressure back on that 93 car as well, try to get into that podium spot. But we're going to stay here, and we're going to kind of have to stay focused on this lead battle because they are just putting on an amazing show between the two of them. And I feel like this is probably the best that that Chad's got out of NASCAR 1 here. He's got pretty close to Larry. I don't think it'll be enough for a move into the tunnel, or into the bus stop, I should say. But I think he will be a little closer than we've seen him previously.
If he can nail the exit of the bus stop, he can take that momentum and dive deep into turn 1 and try to get on Larry's inside and force him wide and really get the run there. But he's so focused on entry right now that he's killing his exit in the bus stop. And I think that's really what's hurting him for turning. He needs to give up that entry speed and really focus more on that exit, because that's where Larry is getting him, is on the exits of the corners. If he can get that exit like he needs, turn 1 could be a very interesting corner coming down to the end.
Yeah, exactly right. And so we're coming across the 2 to go. So, I mean, Chad doesn't have a lot of opportunities left. We mentioned there's a few huge passing opportunities. This is one of them. And you see Chad, he's going to peek his nose just a little bit. Again, you can see how much closer he can get. This time he's going to arc it wide here, try to, I think, cross over maybe behind the 67. I say Chad is right there, Maxwell. But now this might be one of his best opportunities here into this International Horseshoe. Again, Larry's going to protect the inside.
Larry just got a little bit loose there getting on the brakes. That may be what Chad needs to try to do something here. Larry's starting to feel that pressure, getting a little bit loose. Chad with a pretty good exit there. Let's see if he capitalizes. I'm telling you, Kyle, I don't think he makes the pass without using the bumper a little bit. I hate to say that, and no one wants to resort to it, but if you want a race win, I think the bumper is what you got to use.
So he's been trying to keep it clean so far. We'll see if it gets to that point, as we do have 2 to go here. And I say Larry's still able to hold him off through the infield section of Daytona as he heads into the last turn before we get back to the NASCAR 1. As this is where Chad's got to try to get the power down, and you see he actually takes a wider angle, loses a little bit there. But you can see definitely Larry is really starting to bobble a little bit more, though, in that 67 car. I think that's Chad is definitely starting to make his presence known here.
If I'm Chad, I back this bus stop entrance up and I mat it in the middle of that bus stop and get a killer run out and set this pass up for turn 1. But no, he's going to go hard on the brakes in. He's got to get the exit he needs. Oh, this is the closest exit we've seen of Chad Wilkes for a little bit.
This is a good exit.
Right at the end.
I think he's still closer, yeah. This is going to be close. I think he does have a chance here. This is the closest he's been. He's going to have a little bit of draft here. They're going to be taking the white flag. It's the traffic, I think, too far away to play a role in this one. So, will he make a big send here and just kind of lay it all on the line here at this point? Or is he going to try a little bit more for the rest of the lap here as we take the white flag here at Daytona? And here he comes. He's sending into turn 1, Maxwell.
Going to be side by side with Yingling in turn 1. Can he keep him pinched enough to get the exit? No, he slides.
As a little bobble, I'll say it's not over. Obviously, he's still right there with him, but man, he definitely gave everything he had there in 1. So I say he's going to have to try to do it again here through the International Horseshoe. You see Larry, too. He's getting traction loss as well. These guys are really struggling with their tires. I think they've pretty much used them up here. So now it's Larry's going to have to handle him here for the infield section, and then, of course, the remaining half of the lap.
Now that they're both sliding around, I think this will play in the 17's wheelhouse. Just with more road course experience, knowing how to put the power down on the exit. Larry's still wiggling a little, but Chad trying that outside lane, and it's just not going to work in these heavy stock cars. He's going to have to move him to make this pass. He is too consistent on the bottom, even with the wiggles. He's going to have to get this exit, though, and I don't think he's got the exit here. The last chance he has is to nail that bus stop and hope he gets side by side into turns NASCAR 3 and 4.
Yeah, so he's going to have to definitely be aggressive now into the bus stop for the final time approaching that one. But I mean, these guys have just been putting on a hell of a show. This has been super exciting. Much as I apologize to everybody else. I mean, but these guys are just, the race they've been putting on lap after lap has just been incredible. As you
Folks,
see,
you are missing nothing with the other drivers. They're all spaced out by at least 2 seconds apiece. And with only 5 cars on the lead lap, you're not missing anything. And there's Chad's penalty. He's going to get right there for going through that crash. I'm sure he's got a time penalty as you see him giving up
he's
that
backing
time.
it down. Yeah.
Larry Yingling going to come out of NASCAR, turn forward, bring it to that checkered flag, and probably going to take the win here tonight.
Yeah, what a job by Larry. Went with the pit strategy. It worked for him. And he's going to come across here. He's going to take the win at the Daytona Road Course. I would call that an upset, beating that 17 of Chad Wilkes. Everybody had him peaked as the one to win tonight. But we're not done here. We're going to go back here because, I say, while they're done, these guys still having a great battle. Again, this is for the podium spot. They're coming out of the infield section back to NASCAR 1. It's right now Kevin DeBrown leading Kevin Freeze. And Kevin Freeze has been eating in on the 93 car lap after lap since he's gotten close to him. But he's going to have to hope for a slight mistake, I think, at this point from that 93 to have a chance at it.
If Kevin Brown can get through the bus stop just easy, I'm pretty sure he has third place in hand.
So he's
Not
never
too close on the back bumper, so he's got plenty of opportunity just to back this up, hit his marks, and just drive out. You see, Kevin's got to drive hard. 93 does not. He makes it through. The 5 car is going to be too far back at this point. I believe Kevin Brown's going to have that third place pretty well locked up, Kyle.
Yeah, looks like Kevin Brown's going to hold on third. I think the 5 may have also got one of those slowdowns as well, trying to send it as deep as he could. And say the other drivers we got to mention, though, on the strategy side of things, we talked about Gabe Butler going for that fuel-only strategy. It's going to work out for him, too. He's going to actually finish in that top 5. He's going to be the last car on that lead lap as well. So I'll say he was one of those ones that ran long the first round and then went for that short pit strategy, fuel only. Again, saved him about 8 to 10 seconds. And he's going to come home here with a top 5 as saying, again, Gabe, he's always one of these guys to watch at the oval side of things, but he's showing he's definitely got some road course prowess as well in that one machine.
Absolutely, bringing home a solid top 5 finish. Stays on the lead lap. Hey, outruns one of our dominant drivers of the season, Ryan Kelly, who brings it home 6th. And with some of the troubles these other drivers had, Jack Walls bringing home 7th, Michael Spell 8th, Eric Laurie after early incident 9, and Todd Merkel rounding out that top 10. But look at that, 9th place on back, at least 2 laps down. And 3rd place, a minute and 11 seconds off the pace for the race. The top 2 drivers absolutely were in their own zip code all night long.
That they were, and so while we watch the 67 of Larry Yingling here, as he can celebrate through turn 1 here. Hopefully he doesn't find any tire barriers, but he's going to enjoy this one. And we will watch him celebrate. So we're also going to pull up our standings for tonight's event. Larry, I think that's for Larry. That's probably one of his most difficult races for him to pull off win. It's like beating someone like a Chad Wilkes. And I think you're seeing it here with that celebration. I think he's always kind of a mellow-mannered person, but I think this one means a lot to that 67 car.
Absolutely, to beat the most dominant driver we've ever seen on a road course. And, even Larry, as dominant as he is at other disciplines, comes into road courses saying, I'm running for second. To see him beat one of the best on the road courses, that is no small feat. So this is really showing what type of championship season Larry is going for in this series.
Yeah, he's definitely been stepping up his game. So you see Larry Yingling get in the win over Chad Wilkes by about 3 seconds. It doesn't show how close it was that whole pretty much last run there. Just hats off to Larry, Chad. They put on an amazing show. Kevin DeBrown able to hold off Kevin Freeze there for 3rd. And then you got Gabe Butler in 5th. And then we mentioned that was the last car on the lead lap. And then from 6 on back, you've got Ryan Kelly there, Jack Walls, Michael Spell, Eric Laurie, Todd Merkel in the top 10. Then James Ledford, John Brill, Todd Kirkwood in 13th. Unfortunately, a few drivers were in practice but did not wind up starting the race, including Dale Willoughby, Chris Matthews, and Joseph DeCiro. But yeah, just a great job. Hats off to all these guys. So we're going to pull up some drivers, get some interviews with them, though, Maxwell, because that was definitely an eventful one for these guys. So let's go ahead and see what they've got to say about it. All right, had to hunt that car down there. He is. We're going to pull in our third place finisher and that number 93 right where he qualified, but definitely wasn't just to sit and ride in that third place position all race long, Kevin. That was a wild one, a little bit of everything. I say at one point you and Kevin Freeze were having a great battle. Then unfortunately we saw him kind of get caught up in an incident. He dropped way back. But just it was really all about just it seemed like minimizing mistakes tonight. I say unfortunately turn one seemed to be a bit of your nemesis there. But able to kind of recover and stay with it and grab that third place. I mean, how difficult was that this evening?
Definitely. I think we could have practiced some more this week. I ran into this race with basically 0 left to practice, so I'm really surprised we got a top 5 out of it, honestly. But yeah, turn 1 was god awful for me. I could not figure it out for the life of me, and unfortunately, I was trying my best to keep no incidents so I can get as much points as I could get. But, ended up spinning out through that turn, and it caused me to get some incident points. But, oh well, we'll take a third place. I think I led 1 lap staying out, so that'll work.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to mention was the staying out part. You was able to get that bonus point there. Obviously, every little bit goes a long way, especially when at a track like this where it's so difficult to be able to get bonus points. To say, especially when you got guys like Larry and Chad just kind of sneaking away from everybody. But yeah, awesome job tonight. But I say, yeah, just well run there. Say worked out well to grab that third place, and yeah, I'm sure you're feeling it after that one. Probably worth a little bit of a break here, but we're gonna pass you over to Maxwell though.
Absolutely. Hey, great run tonight, Kevin. My only question is, in the long run, we know through multiple experiences, whether it be ovals, short tracks, road courses, you've got great short run pace. You really can take off on fresh tires and really be super aggressive at the start. And we saw that tonight, getting to work your way through the field a little bit and get up to that third place. But on the long runs, was your car kind of struggling tonight, especially after maybe a couple of nice drifts through turn 1 that we saw? Did it kind of heat the rear tires up and really cause your drive off to struggle tonight, or what was your main struggle with the car, you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I fitted it through the pretty much corners, drifting it, burned off the rubber, and like you said, I'm pretty good on short runs, and the Cup car it's different. You can be good on short run, you can easily back it down a bit, and you can be okay on the long runs. But this car, you really got to figure out how to save the tire, and I'm trying to learn that for the season. I think I'm trying my hardest, as hard as I can, because I'm not best at saving tires, but I can't do it much on road courses because 1, I'm not good at road courses, and 2, I hate road courses. But I tried my hardest, and I'm really surprised we got top 3. It's unfortunate what happened to Kevin. Kevin definitely gave me a run for money. It was a lot of fun racing with him, but yeah.
Absolutely. Y'all had a close battle all night long, and that was awesome to watch. And I wouldn't say you're not good at road courses. I ran with you a few times, and me and you have battled for top 3 positions before. So not going to say you're bad at road courses by no means. Thought you ran a great race, had good pit road strategies, got yourself out there and got some clean air and was able to come back for a third place finish. So now we would just want to give you the opportunity to give any thanks and shout outs you may have.
Yeah, of course. Chris Caboo, painting the paint scheme, as always. Kevin Brown on Twitch. And let's see here, Area 51 for Let Me Race. And you guys are putting on amazing broadcasts. I'm sure this one's going to be a good one to watch between Chad and Larry. I'm really surprised Larry got it. I was low-key pulling for Larry, even though he's my nemesis. I was pulling for Larry because I didn't want Chad to win so he can get in the playoffs easily. But happy that Chad or Larry won. And, yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, great job tonight, Kevin. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun watching those, and I think that's definitely going to be worth the watch. Those two fighting out there, but I'll say enjoy this one. I'll say enjoy the kitty cat that in your profile picture. I say I can't remember if that's Aura or not, though. I'm going to be in trouble on that one. I apologize, but make sure you don't get her mad at you.
That's definitely Paisy, and I appreciate it, guys.
All right, that is our third place finisher in that 93 of Kevin DeBrown. We're going to jump back now to our second place finisher in the 17 of Chad Wilkes. All right, we're going to bring in Chad. I'll say, Chad, our pole sitter this evening. I'll say, did everything right there, Chad. You were looking good, but I'd say that first run just couldn't shake Larry. And then say we saw Larry jump into the pits that one lap earlier, and then able to do the same thing the second time around. Hindsight, of course, one of those ones you can never really predict. I mean, if you had the option, would you have tried to undercut Larry on the pit stop strategy? I mean, what do you feel like you could have or should have done differently there to try to get around that 67 car?
Yeah, I mean, hindsight, I guess I could have. It just kind of had a plan. Tried to stick to it through the first part. I didn't realize that the pit delta would be that big, and I didn't realize it'd be so hard to pass. It's you would think with a big track with a lot of big straightaways, but cars really weren't drafting up to each other kind of like I figured they would. You kind of hit the rev limiter pretty quick, and I just thought all that stuff would make a bigger difference than it did. So I was kind of the mindset of not really worrying about track position or anything. That, generally figured I'd probably be the fastest guy and that it really wouldn't matter too much track position with the big straightaways. But I was very wrong. I guess I could have did it different. But, there's no way for me to really know that going in. So, I never really practiced any long runs or anything. I got a couple laps in Tuesday night, like maybe 5 laps or something like that, and then tried to practice a little bit before the race today, but never really got a long run, so I didn't know how the car was going to react, and I was actually ended up being fine on the long run. Just couldn't find the way around.
Yeah, I mean that battle with you and Larry. I mean, it was obviously for Max Line. I think that was an amazing one to watch. You guys put on just an awesome show between the two of you. But I mean, still, I'd say obviously Larry definitely. I think maybe sneaking a little bit of what kind of pace he actually maybe had in that 67 and kind of rolling in a little bit late into the server and things like that. So I don't think Larry being Larry, I don't think he really showed his full hand this evening as well. But I honestly don't know what else to ask you. I mean, I just thought you guys had an awesome battle. It was a lot of fun watching you two battle it out for the win, for the lead there with this race tonight. That being said, though, I do want to pass it over to Maxwell because I'm sure he'll have some better questions for you.
Chad, great run. Not the spot I thought you were going to finish. Kind of a shocker tonight. You definitely had the pace, though. You had the fastest car. We even saw that after you lost track position. You could run a 3 or 4 second deficit down in no time. Truly just tearing up the field tonight. But I guess my question for you is, what was your mindset with pit strategy? Because we saw the first time Larry came in before you and you came a lap later. And I truly believe the only reason you even lost the lead was a real gentle pit entry. It looked like you slowed down to almost 48, 47 miles an hour on the pit entry. And Larry just kind of eats you up there on the pit road times to get the lead. But then once you got behind him, like you said, track position, hard to pass. I completely understand that, as aero dependent as these cars are. And we're still running a very fast pace at this road course. So aerodynamics do indeed matter. My question is, what made you want to stay out another lap again and let Larry Yingling pit sooner? Did you not expect him to pit as soon as he did? Was you wanting to pit before him on the second stop? Kind of walk us through that scenario there.
So the first, I knew that Larry would be fast. That wasn't really an issue. He was fast at Watkins Glen, and this is probably the most similar to that. And I'm better at probably the more technical it is, the probably better I am. These big, fast ones I'm probably not quite as good at. So I knew he'd be, I knew I wouldn't be a second faster than him. But I figured I'd be faster than him, and I think I probably generally was. But again, I had no idea because I had never been behind anybody. I just assumed with the straightaways and all that I could draft up behind them at some point and outbreak them and go, which is what I tried to do, obviously, a bunch of times. And, when you're outside, the corners are so off camber and you don't have any grip or anything like that. So just never could find a way around. But the first time I knew he would pit when he did, because I said I was going to go 12, 11, I think, before the race. I had no issues with him pitting before me. I thought I'd run him down, which I did, but I thought I'd be able to get around him pretty easly, which that was the part I was wrong about. But then the second time, I don't think he was going to pit when he did. I just was about to pass him, and there was really, there wasn't going to be anything he can do about it because I got to run out the chicane, and I was going to get him going into one. And so I think he kind of called an audible, which was really smart on his part to go ahead and pull in. And, the other thing, too, I realized, right before I was about to pit, the first time I was like, oh, I didn't practice any pit entries. So I had no idea where the breaking point was, no clue at all. So, and even after the first one, I was a little bit better on the second one, but still, nowhere near as good as I could have been at practice. And that easily could have been the difference too. So yeah, I mean, I just probably wish I'd have practiced a couple things a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. I can't win all of them, I don't reckon. So it's all right.
Absolutely. Well, hey, still a great run. If it makes you feel any better, as far as the fastest laps of the race went, you had it by 9/10 of a second over the whole field. So good job on that. Great fast laps that you ran. But want to give you this opportunity now to give any thanks and shout outs you have for this awesome second place finish, Chad.
Yeah, thanks to teammates Larry and Ryan. I don't even know where Ryan ended up finishing. He was good there for a while, but yeah, I mean, it was a good battle with Larry. I had to work to not hit him a couple times, but I know that he would never do that to me. So, good hard racing and couldn't figure out a way around. So, but thanks to them, and thanks to y'all for the broadcast. As always, this should be a fun one to go back and watch. And thanks to the admins and everybody for putting this on. I think we had a decent car count tonight for road course and for how this particular season's gone. So, yeah, thanks everybody.
Absolutely. And Chad, I'm not going to lie. I was sitting here on the broadcast, you'll hear me for 5 or 6 laps saying, he's got to use the bumper. He needs to move him. He needs to move him. But you know how aggressive I am. We were teammates. You completely understand that I'm especially one to use the bumper if needed. So thought you were going to have the chance to put the bumper to him for the win, but that didn't happen. But hey, man, great job. I'm going to let Gael send us out of this one.
All right, yeah, I definitely could have, but he has hit me one time, but it wasn't for the win, and I have accidentally wrecked him out for money before. So, yeah, I wasn't going to do that again. He's raced me clean.
Well, so you guys found an awesome show. So obviously, it's always nice to get those wins. But yeah, I mean, just the racing you guys put on. Like I said, when you go back and look at it, I mean, I think you can look from an outside point of view. You guys just put on an awesome show. So I say we definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, look forward to seeing you on the track here in the future, and say get you that win for the season here, not too long.
Yep, I'll get one at some point. Thanks.
All right, that is our second place finisher, Chad Wilkes. Now we got to pull over to our race winner in that number 67 of Larry Yingling. Larry, you rolled into practice late. I think you maybe were trying to hide a little bit of maybe what you had behind you and underneath that 67 car, because I mean you were hounding Chad that whole first run, and then those pit strategies. I mean, you hit them just spot on there, and then you had to of course fight off that 17 for a lot of laps there during after the first cycle, and of course coming to the checkered. I mean, I'm guessing that was probably a lot of work. I'm sure you're probably feeling it after that one tonight.
Yeah, that was definitely the race of my iRacing quote-unquote career. I never once thought I would actually beat Chad on the road course, actually on speed. Yeah, he was faster, but it wasn't through luck or lap traffic or whatever. And this really probably just came down to this. A lot of practice this week. I practiced with Zach Hall at Category 5 Esports all week, and it was nice to look through and see what he did different than me, and through telemetry. And yeah, this a couple hundred laps this week, and yeah, it was definitely tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it definitely showed. I mean, so we saw towards the end of that run, I mean, you guys were both looked like you were just driving on ice at that point. I think you pretty much used up everything you had coming into those final 2 laps there at the end. I think the one thing Maxwell I noticed, though, especially was, and saying probably sounds like something you figured out from your laps of practice, was your exits coming back into NASCAR 1 from the infield and then coming out of the bus stop. I mean, you'd be able to build such a gap from just nailing your exits, nailing your throttle, where you're not roasting the tires there. I think that was able to put you in that spot to keep Chad behind you, because those are really the 2 big passing points, of course, on this track. But you're able to build that margin. Was that something that you were really looking at as well when you were running your practice laps, to make sure that you were kind of hitting those numbers correctly?
That was actually one of my worst spots. I didn't know if I should keep it tight there or let it swing out onto that curb on the right and get a more straight run off. But he was definitely yapping me a lot on the first run. I know some of it was a little bit from the jitters from the race start and stuff. And yeah, just the second run, probably just the rubber on it. I found something. Then when Chad got right behind me, it was probably hard for him to get the power down, because he couldn't really see the corner like I could. So he probably had to hesitate a little bit each time. But yeah, that was when I started figuring that corner out, my confidence started rising a lot. And I knew, especially after last week, there was no way I was pitting after Chad. So I pitted before him on the first run. Then the second run, something happened. I'm in the bus stop with me, and he got a good run on me. So when he got right next to me, I made sure to push him to the wall. And I knew I had pit right there, so pushed him up to the wall. Because I didn't think he knew I would pit, so I want to make sure he didn't have a choice but to stay out there. And I was able to get even bigger lead. And he was definitely smoking me in turn one the whole last run. And I know I was also taking a little bit easier than what I could have, because I would have just hated myself if I threw away my one great chance of actually beating him by overcooking turn one, and just thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you said. I mean, you were spot on all night long. It was a lot of fun watching you and Chad battle out. Say Maxwell, I mean, you and I were just having a blast watching you guys battle for that win. So I'm going to pass it over to him, because I know he enjoyed that as much as I did, and I'm sure he's got some questions for you as well.
Absolutely, except Larry, you've already answered my questions and your responses to Guy else, so I really don't have anything. I just want to say that you had a great run. That was awesome. Can't believe Chad Wilkes fell, but if he was going to fall to anybody, it was probably going to be you. So, of course, you always snooker us. You go put in laps and don't tell nobody. Don't ask nobody to come practice with you. My feelings are hurt. I thought we were friends. I'd love to have made some laps with you this week. No, I'm just kidding. But great job, Larry. Great win. Really setting yourself up nice for these playoffs here, and just showing that you can win on a road course, short track, intermediate, anywhere we go, that you've got a way to do it. And you also led the most laps tonight, so congratulations on that. So just want to give you the opportunity to give any thanks and shout outs that you may have for this awesome win tonight against Chad.
Thank you. I also want to say my bad at Michael Spell again. I think it was second run. Chad was right behind me in the bus stop, and Michael Spell was right in front of me, and I think Spell had a little wiggle, and I kind of got into him in the bus stop. When it slowed down a little bit, Chad was right behind me. It was definitely lucky that we all got through that. Definitely shout out all my teammates this race: Ryan Kelly, Chad Wilkes, and Todd Kirkwood. And big shout out to Zach Hall at Category 5 Esports for helping me all week long. And Brian Johnson for giving me some advice, especially in that corner coming on to NASCAR turn one. I believe it deep down, it kind of helped. And all my sponsors, Hash Performance. If you need any work done on your LS engine or GM vehicle, contact them on Facebook to see what they can do for you. Muffin Sports Cards. If you are into sports car collecting or want to get into it and don't know where to start, follow Muffin Sports Cards on Instagram. He is always wanting to get people closer to the hobby and can help you find your stuff, so don't be afraid to ask him for help. And Fort Worth Screen Printing. If you like t-shirts, jackets, bags, hats, shorts, among other stuff with the custom artwork printed on them, check them out on fwscreen.com. Huge shout out to you guys for broadcast. I am looking forward to watching this, and definitely the race of my life.
Yeah, no, and that's what we were saying. We could tell by the celebration. I think that was definitely one of the big wins for you. It's like, obviously you've had plenty in your iRacing career, but I say, like I said, I'd be feeling the same way if I was able to hold off someone like you or Chad or something like that in kind of your guys' wheelhouses. So, just awesome job, Larry. It was a lot of fun to watch you guys put on an awesome fight up front there for pretty much the full race there, really. But yeah, like I said, I think that was definitely a lot of fun for us to be a part of. But yeah, enjoy that one, man. I say probably go relax a little bit. I say at least for me, I was getting tense just watching you guys. But enjoy this one, Larry. That was definitely a well-earned win tonight.
Thank you, sir. I'm ready to take a break.
All right, Maxwell. That is our race winner, Larry Yingling. I mean, just what a race between him and Chad. I mean, they just put on, I think, one of the best fights we've seen with Area 51 in a long time. Just those two dueling it out 35 laps here at Daytona. And I'm saying at a track like this, I'd say we're used to them spreading out and building gaps to one another. I mean, those two were within just less than 5 seconds all race long, and more often than not within just about a second of each other, it seemed like every lap.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely took off from the rest of the field. They kind of stayed strung out single file, but them top two were stuck like glue all race long. And honestly, at a road course where most of the time everybody just spreads out and runs their own race, it was really nice from the broadcast side for you guys watching at home to be able to see these guys just take off and just race door to door, side by side, and just make passes, whether it be on pit road or on the track. We actually had quite a bit of passing. I think this road course boded well, all in all, for Area 51. I know some of them have been a bit of a challenge for drivers, but I wouldn't mind if Area 51 came back to this road course. But I tell you what, there's one on my radar I'd love to see sometime, and I'd love to see these Area 51 guys go to Road America sometime. I think that would be a really neat track to take these guys to. I think it'd be a heck of a show there. But, something else, Gael, that we see after the race tonight, standings got shook up a little bit. If you look at the standings, Gael, we have a tie for 6th in the standings, a tie for 4th, and a tie for 8th in the standings. And that tie for 8th is between Christopher Matthews and Dale Knott. They're both tied for that 8th position. So that's going to be really tight here with just a couple races to go before the playoffs. So we got, 2 more races till then?
Yeah,
so
you're right.
It's going to be a tight one down to the wire between these guys to see who makes it in. But definitely a lot of things shaking up. And once we factor in that drop week here in about a week, we're really going to see how tight it is.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's, like I said, it's going to be a really close battle for that 8th spot. And I say, obviously, the drivers that are happy, they're good to go, are Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly. They're locked in. But also, I mean, look at James Ledford. He jumps up into that 3rd position. He's just been quietly consistent in that number 48 car. Gabe Butler, with his run, that top 5, he jumps up as well into the tie for 4th with Chad Wilkes. Kevin Freeze, I say, he's been able to jump 3 spots, really one of the biggest climbers into the points as well. So, yeah, I say it's all going to be to play for in these final 2 races, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see. But, yeah, I think the pressure definitely going to ramp up. Of course, like I said, that drop week is going to make a big difference for some of these drivers tonight.
Absolutely. And Guile, we've only got 6 drivers out of the 27 in the standings that have actually made all 6 races so far. So we've got guys up here in that top 8 that have actually missed a race already, but with drop weeks, that'll help anyways. So
yep, that's true.
It's very interesting. Kevin Freeze picking up 3 spots in the points. Chad Wilkes, after having to miss in a week, picking up 3 spots. Gabe Butler picking up 2. James Ledford picking up 2. Todd Merkel picking up 1. But Chris Matthews, Dale Knott, both losing 5 spots apiece in the points and putting themselves in a dead tie. And if it tells you how crazy the run Larry Yingling and Ryan Kelly have had, the tie for 8th, they are 100 points off of the leader already. So thank goodness for a reset in the points for the last 4 for these drivers, right? Gives them a new breath of air, gives them a chance to try to run after it again. But Gael, it's going to be tight the next 2 weeks. We're really going to have to watch these point standings closely and see who gets into these playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to be watching it very closely. But I'll say for Larry, like I said, he's good to go. He's got those wins in his pocket. He's just going to be enjoying life, I say, for these final